out of these arteria. Remember, these are fenestrated. It's got the podocyte on it. So there's a lot of gaps. So as the water pressure, the blood pressure here increases, things are filtered out. Okay, so it doesn't come out from here. Okay, as I was saying, so hydrostatic pressure, and then the osmotic pressure will be the fluid it's the water, okay, going back in. Okay, so all that stuff, that's all the glucose and whatever, okay, water is going to go in here now to the proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, this is the proximal one. Then there are blood vessels around. Okay, blood vessels around, which will then filter it out and be reabsorbed into the blood. So this is the proximal convoluted tubule portion. Okay, so again, the net filtration rate is always going to be a little bit positive, okay, because it's going to be filtering things out. Okay, then again, if kidney fail to excrete toxic waste, and there are a couple things to people do to test your filtration rate. Two of these tests, okay, and they are plant-based, and they are filtered and not reabsorbed. So you can measure the end result and see, you know, what's going on and how much is filtered through. Okay, so tubular reabsorption is, so again, everything goes in here. Okay, this is the proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, things are absorbed, or glucose, amino acid, protein, vitamins, so everything's reabsorbed. And remember, there are peritubular vessels here, which are blood vessels, and it will reabsorb all these things. And at the same time, the peritubular capillaries will excrete some of the waste, like urea, nitrogen waste, and then it's going to go in here. Okay, and down here is when the loop of Henle. Okay, loop of Henle. So down here, everything's coming through, but this is called a descending limb. At the descending limb, water will come out, causing sodium to be more concentrated. So sodium now, the liquid now here will be more salty. Okay, and now absorbing even more urea. And as it goes up, it will finally, so water cannot come in here. Okay, but water can go out here. Okay, and here, more salt and potassium and chlorine will be now reabsorbed. Okay, and then we will now go into the proximal convoluted tubule. More salt, everything will be absorbed here, and here we will absorb more hydrogen ion, more ammonia, and this is more. That's how urine becomes more concentrated. Okay. So if you look at the collecting duct, it is made of, you know, all these several nephrons come together and collect in there. So the glomerulus up here, if you divide this, up here would be the cortex region, and down here would be the medulla region. Okay. So again, remember this part down here is saltier. Okay, it's saltier. And as it goes up, okay, down here, as it goes back down to the medulla region, because it is saltier, more water will be drawn out. So your body's always trying to absorb water, okay? And making water more concentrated. Making the urine more concentrated. And also, I forgot to tell you, it is also under the influence of parathyroid. and ADH. Okay, ADH is for the antidiuretic. Okay, and it will absorb more water, and then it will for the parathyroid, it will absorb more calcium. Most calcium and sodium and glucose amino acids will be absorbed to maintain hemostasis. Potassium, ammonia, creatine, and drugs will be secreted as waste. This is the proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, reabsorption and secretion. So proximal is the first stage. Here we are interested in peritubular. So here's the peritubular capillary. So it's next to the proximal convoluted tubules. Okay. Vasa recta, which means movement by osmolarity, not pressure. So the osmolarity, remember, osmolarity is the movement of water like osmosis. Okay, so it is driven by that, not by the pressure of the, not by the hydrostatic pressure. So it's driven by sodium. Sodium is the key substance to move many solute. Sodium goes where water goes as well. Proximal convoluted tubule, that's where most absorption will occur. 67% will occur at the proximal convoluted tubule. 100% of glucose are absorbed, amino acid, and other organic vitamins. So that's why you should not have glucose or amino acid in your urine. Otherwise, you might have kidney problems or diabetes. So bicarbonate plays an important role. Acid base. Remember bicarbonate when we did the blood. It transfer of the carbon dioxide. So again, this also plays a role in absorbing the bicarbonate and then excreting it from the waste product from the blood. Reabsorption and secretion. Now we're talking about the loop of Henle again. Loop of Henle, which I already described, but we'll look at it again. So here, water can come out through here, but water cannot come out from here. Okay, so down here, water comes out. So what happens when water comes out? It's more concentrated. Okay, more salty. Okay, as it goes up. Now water is now retained. Okay, they're not allowed to come out, and sodium is allowed to come out, and chlorine is about to come out. Osmosis in the descending, so osmosis is the movement of water, okay, and then active transport in the ascending. It's gonna pump out more sodium. So the descending loop of the loop of Henle, we have recovered a lot of solute and water, but still have more through osmosis, and 15% of the water can be reabsorbed because the increase in the intestinal osmolarity. So we're talking about this guy. Ascending loop. This one we're talking about the descending loop, and then this one we're talking about the ascending loop. Okay, sodium is reabsorbed, and chlorine follow. So remember, sodium, water always follows chlorine, but in this case, they will not let water go through. Okay, so it's done through active transport. Water stays in the tube, and the filtrate becomes hypotonic. Countercurrent multiplier, it just means water can go in and here, but cannot go in through here. It is the structure of the loop of Henle. Now we're going down to the distal convoluted tubule at the end now. Okay, by now 80% of the filtrate is back in the blood, 10 to 15% more. So you have more reabsorption of sodium, chlorine, and calcium, and water, depending on how dehydrated you are. Of course, the more dehydrated you are, the more water will be reabsorbed, and then that's why in the beginning of the picture, the the color of the urine is so dark because it's so concentrated when you're dehydrated. And again, due to aldosterone and parathyroid hormones, things will be, whether sodium will be more absorbed or calcium will also be absorbed here. Collecting duct and water recovery. So the collecting duct is again down here. Very little reabsorption as well, just the remaining little bit left over. Plenty of pump here. There are two types of cells, principal cells to recover lost sodium and potassium. It's sensitive to aldosterone. Remember, aldosterone is that hormone that affects blood pressure, which reabsorbs more sodium, and then water will follow. Chlorine will also follow. At the same time, when sodium is reabsorbed, potassium is secreted. Okay. The intercalated cells will secrete or absorb hydrogen ion and carboxyl to help the pH. But this is where we can restore concentration of body fluid with ADH. Okay, remember ADH if you are dehydrated. Again, more water will be reabsorbed here. More water will be reabsorbed, and then into the peritubular capillaries. So this part right here would be the lumen of the collecting duct. This is a collecting duct. Okay. So water is required to maintain blood concentration, blood osmolarity. So when you have dehydration, you have increased osmolarity. Then you have ADH will be excreted. Okay, ADH will come out from your pituitary, and it will cause water reabsorption. If you have too much water, okay, water osmolarity decreases, then you don't need ADH, and then more water will be absorbed. More water will be let go in the